A thrill had blossomed in Kakyoin's chest and was now surging through every vein in his body. They were here. They were alive. His friends, the ones he had been looking for this whole time, had placed this trap for him. They hadn't been senselessly killed by Dio. All the pain from earlier seemed like a distant dream now. He'd finally reunited with them, and now they could help him. He was so happy he couldn't stop smiling. He was slightly unnerved by the fact that they were just staring at him, not saying anything, but he kept talking, unable to contain his excitement.
I can't believe... I mean, I know it's a lot to take in, but I'm so glad it's you. You won't believe how long I've been looking for you.
He was cut off as a fist, faster than a bullet, punched him in the face. He let out a strangled cry as the force of it bent his nose and blood sprayed across his chest. It sent him sprawling on his back to the floor. His ears were ringing and the pain exploded across his face, all feeling fleeing from his nose. He could faintly hear the two men arguing.
Jotaro? What the hell did you do that for?
Be careful, old man. That vampire's trying to trick us! He's wearing Kakyoin's face as a disguise, so we'll lower our guard.
No.
It was Jotaro who had attacked him.
Not even your own friends want you.
Despair began to build in his chest, but he quickly pushed it down.
They're just surprised. Once they see it's truly me, everything will be fine.
How is that even possible?
Mr. Joestar interjected.
I don't know, but this is one dangerous stand we're dealing with.
Jotaro turned back to him.
Who are you? How dare you wear that face?
Kakyoin slowly rose to his feet, trying hard to keep his voice steady.
A disguise. Yes, I can see why you would think that.
He paused to push his nose back into the correct position as it healed, grunting from the pain.
But Jotaro, please, you have to believe me. I am Kakyoin. I've been looking for you and Mr. Joestar for the past few days.
He looked into their eyes again, trying to be as earnest as he could. It was hard to maintain eye contact with blood dripping from his nostrils, though. He saw fear, yet hope in their eyes. He could understand that feeling. They didn't want to let themselves believe, so they wouldn't be disappointed if he turned out to not be the person he claimed to be. His mind raced to find a way to help them understand. He wanted nothing more, but even though they were standing only a couple meters away, it felt as though there was a chasm opening between them. Jotaro only stared in stunned silence. This couldn't be real. Noriaki Kakyoin was dead. He had been to his funeral, laid his own eyes on the mutilated corpse back in Egypt. And yet, here he was, standing beyond the UV light wall, looking deathly pale with animalistic, slitted pupils, the bloody drip of his nose slowing down. But it was him, no doubt. The same two pale scars cut down across his eyes.
No.
He dug his nails into his palms, leaving angry red crescents behind. This had to be some kind of trick, disguise, or illusion. Yet the fact that Kakyoin's corpse had been missing, and the coffin wood was splintered outward...
You got a lot of nerve to claim to be Kakyoin,
Jotaro said before his thoughts consumed him.
Especially when we went to his funeral only a few days ago.
There was a funeral?
The vampire's eyes widened, then softened.
Enough already!
Joseph suddenly called, his voice trying not to break as well.
If you're really who you say you are, then why don't you prove it? Otherwise, I'll shove you into the UV light myself!
He hesitated, and then said,
Of course! I'll show you my stand. That's proof enough, right?
Like we'd let you do that. What if your stand blows up in my face, or takes my soul when I look at it, or something else messed up like that? You're not fooling me.
The vampire looked down, seemingly defeated.
Then I'm afraid I can't offer you much in the way of proof, if you won't let me summon my stand.
Wait, old man. Let's have him summon it. I think it will be alright. I saw him use it outside when he was running away. I didn't recognize it at first, but it should be safe. However...
Jotaro locked eyes with the vampire, making him flinch.
Let your stand out. But if you do anything, we'll fill you with so many bullets you won't be able to count them. Got it?
The vampire paused to swallow.
Yes, of course.
Jotaro stood ready, fingers twitching in case anything went wrong. The vampire's form rippled and doubled, and then, like a soul stepping free from the flesh, a stand came forth. Its green and white body was shiny and rippling, like it was made of polished, fluid gemstones. Its face had what looked like a surgeon mask over its nose and mouth. The coils that made up its body were wound tightly, save the ones at its feet wrapped around the user's ankle, giving it a fully humanoid appearance. Jotaro and Joseph stared in amazement. This was, without a doubt, Hierophant Green. The stand disappeared into thin air as it was dismissed.
There, see? It's my stand. Hierophant. Do you believe me now?
The vampire said. Jotaro's mind was racing, trying to find reasons to still not believe. A stand wasn't something you could easily fake or replicate. Each stand was unique to its user. And the fact that this vampire had shown them Hierophant Green meant that he had to be—
Answer this question, then I'll believe you. It's something only the real Noriaki Kakyoin would know.
Good thinking, Jotaro.
Of course. Ask away.
How did Kakyoin uncover the secret of Dio's stand, the world?
It was a simple question, yet there were only 5 people in existence who knew the answer, 2 of which were dead.
If he really is Kakyoin, then we'll know.
The vampire breathed heavily, as if he was being crushed by some invisible weight. He said nothing for a few moments.
Well, if you're really him, then answer it.
Of course. I know it. It's just...
He took a deep breath, then replied steadily.
Mr. Joestar and I were running from Dio. We made a plan to trap him and force him to reveal his ability. I had Hierophant unravel its body and surround Dio for 20 meters on every side. And then I attacked him with my Emerald Splash. He shattered the web in an instant and struck me in frozen time. I went flying. I crashed into the water tower. I realized Time Stop had to be the world's ability, since it was the only way he could have destroyed the entire web at once. I fired my last Emerald Splash at the clock tower to destroy the hands. To tell Mr. Joestar what I had learned. And then I was gone.
He put his hand over his mouth, as if to keep himself from crying. He took deep breaths through his nostrils, looking down at the floor. Jotaro hardly noticed, though. His eyes grew wider as the story continued. He looked at the old man, whose gaze was wide with shock.
Old man.
That's exactly how it happened.
No, he can't be.
He couldn't deny it. His stand, this story, the only person who could tell it would be— Kakyoin looked up at him again through the light.
Now do you believe me?
Jotaro felt his heart pounding wildly. It was like a dream was coming true before his very eyes.
You really are.
The old man was sputtering. Kakyoin smiled again. Tears started forming in the corners of his eyes. Jotaro turned to the nearest soldier about a meter away.
Turn the lights off.
The soldier looked at him in surprise.
What?
You heard my grandson. Turn the UV lights off.
The soldier stared for a few more moments, trying to see if he had really heard what he thought he had.
But sirs, it's too dangerous.
They didn't respond. Only when Jotaro and Joseph continued to stare at him intently did he fiddle around for his walkie-talkie and murmur something into it quickly. After a few more minutes, which felt like an agonizing wait for the 3 men, involving a lot of confusion and walkie-talkie communication, the UV ring was shut off and replaced by the yellow fluorescent glow of the warehouse strip lights. The space between them seemed to shrink, though none of them had moved.
Kakyoin.
Joseph began. He was cut off as Kakyoin tackled both of them in a tear-filled embrace. Joseph returned in full force. Jotaro's good arm felt heavy, but he slowly wrapped it around Kakyoin, as if he was terrified that at any moment Kakyoin would dissipate into thin air. But he didn't. The hug was life-affirming. He was here. He was real. Jotaro wrapped his arm even tighter. Nothing was going to take him away from Jotaro ever again.
Kakyoin, how is this possible? You were dead. We saw your body in Egypt.
Mr. Joestar's question broke the long silence. Kakyoin loosened his grip and stepped back to face them, their eyes eager for answers. His heart fell a little at the question.
I was hoping you could tell me the answer to that, unfortunately.
Jotaro's brow furrowed.
You mean you don't know?
No. I'm just as confused as you are on this.
Mr. Joestar opened his mouth to ask another question, but Kakyoin held up his hand to stop him.
Before anything else, I have to know something. Is Dio dead? Was our mission successful?
Jotaro nodded.
Yeah, Dio is dead. We wouldn't have been able to stop him if it hadn't been for your message.
His heart fluttered in excitement and became lighter. A smile broke out across his face. It felt like a huge weight had slipped off his shoulders. A blight had been wiped off the face of the earth. He gave a sigh of relief. All his worries from the past few days melted. He couldn't have hoped for anything better. Dio was dead, and his friends were alive.
That's wonderful news. I'm so glad that my message helped you. But what about Polnareff?
Polnareff is fine.
Mr. Joestar assured him.
He went back to France.
That's good. I was worried about him, especially.
Mr. Joestar chuckled, but Jotaro kept his grim look.
Kakyoin,
He cut in.
tell us what happened to you. How did you end up here, like this?
Kakyoin's relief soon left him. He knew this moment would come.
Of course. I'll tell you everything I know.
He recounted everything that had happened to him since he'd woken up in his grave, including the horrific discovery of his new vampiric nature. He left out the parts about spying on his parents and about the people he'd killed, still terrified of those events. Once he'd caught up to the present, Jotaro and Mr. Joestar only looked at each other nervously.
How could this have happened?
I don't know. There are only 2 ways for someone to become a vampire, and both of them are very unlikely to have happened to Kakyoin.
What are they?
Kakyoin asked, desperately. Mr. Joestar grimaced, like unpleasant memories had come to his mind.
The first way is to have worn an ancient device called the Stone Mask. It was a ghastly contraption meant to awaken the hidden potential of the human brain, with dire consequences. It was by wearing the Stone Mask that Dio first gained his vampire powers. But as far as I know, every stone mask in existence has been destroyed. The Speedwagon Foundation saw to it personally.
What's the other way?
The other way is to have a vampire mix their blood with yours. Vampire blood is self-propagating and highly virulent. Cross-contamination to the human bloodstream causes a transformation almost immediately.
Kakyoin frowned as he thought. So if those were the only 2 ways, how had he become a vampire? He looked up. Mr. Joestar seemed just as confused as he was. Jotaro, on the other hand, looked as though he was going to vomit. His face had gone pale and his eyes grown wide. His face made Kakyoin uneasy.
What's wrong, Jotaro?
Oh.
Jotaro's eyes shifted as he responded. He paused and took a deep breath like he was steeling his nerves.
What is it? If you know something, you've got to tell me.
Mr. Joestar was looking curious as well, yet concerned for his grandson.
Kakyoin, I think I'm the one who did this to you.
The helicopter shook, making Jotaro shift uncomfortably in his seat. Below him, the city lights of Cairo twinkled in the darkness like a sea of stars. In the cockpit, the pilots were quiet except for the occasional exchange over the radio. The medic was up there with them, jotting things down on his clipboard. Jotaro sat in the back, clutching his side with shattered ribs as it pulsed with pain. Across from him, partially covered in a white cloth, was the broken body of his best friend, Noriaki Kakyoin. The whirling blades of the helicopter became a droning noise that pounded into his skull. His mind was racing, yet everything seemed to be happening in slow motion around him. Every inch of his body seemed to be in pain from his fight with Dio. His left arm was in a sling, and the Speedwagon Foundation had plans to give him further medical treatment to help repair his shattered ribs and clavicle from where the world had struck him. But all his pain paled in comparison to the gaping hole that was opening in his chest as he stared blankly at Kakyoin's body. He knew he should feel happy, or at least relieved. Their journey was over. They had accomplished everything he and his friends had set out to do. Dio was dead, and in a few hours they would take his remains outside to burn in the sunlight. His mother's life was saved. Her stand would become dormant once again and allow her to live a normal life. Yet he had never felt so empty. The cost had been too high. To destroy Dio, they had endured losses as vast as the planet itself. Avdol, Iggy, and Kakyoin, all dead. He had almost lost the old man and Polnareff, too. A reality he didn't even want to imagine, where they also died and he, Jotaro, was the only one left alive. The helicopter shook from some turbulence, shocking Jotaro and sending jolts of pain up his arm and ribs. He gritted his teeth and exhaled sharply. He pinched the bridge of his nose with his good hand.
Good grief. Kakyoin, why'd you do it?
Kakyoin's arm only lightly rocked from the turbulence in response. The rest of his body remained still under the cloth, but bits of hair peeked out from underneath the edge.
Why?
He whispered again.
You should have stayed back. I could have saved you.
He stopped there. He didn't want to dwell on what would have happened if he and Kakyoin had been sent together to fight Dio instead of him and Polnareff.
You gave your life to save my mother. I should have never asked you to come.
He looked down at the floor. He swallowed hard, forcing down the lump rising in his throat. He knew he shouldn't feel resentful. Kakyoin had known the risks. He knew there was a good chance that they would all perish. But he came and put his life on the line anyway. He had his own score to settle with Dio, and he had wanted to repay his debt to Jotaro for freeing him from the Fleshbud's mind control. Most of all, they could never have defeated Dio if he hadn't used his Stan's web to discover the world's ability. But it didn't make staring at the corpse of his best friend any easier.
5 minutes until we land, Mr. Kujo.
The pilot said, snapping him out of his thoughts.
We'll rendezvous with the ambulance your grandfather's in, and you can receive further treatment.
Right. Thanks.
Jotaro mumbled. 5 more minutes. That was all the time he had left to say goodbye. He pushed himself to his feet slowly, steadying himself against the turbulence and caused himself as little pain as possible. He slowly walked to the other side of the cabin until he was standing next to the body. He knew he shouldn't, but he did it anyway. With a hesitant hand, he tenderly peeled the white cloth back. Kakyoin's indigo eyes were empty and glazed over, gazing upwards. His lids bore the identical scars marking where Indul's Geb had slashed him. His earrings rocked in time with the helicopter, and his hair was matted and bloody. Brown, dried trickles of blood stained both sides of his mouth. His lips hung open unnaturally, as if he had died while trying to say something. The sight of his friend's lifeless face was enough to make bile rise in the back of Jotaro's throat. He wanted to stop. He could feel his hand keep moving like it had a mind of its own, until the ugly wound on his stomach was exposed. He finally stopped. The wound was the most horrible thing Jotaro had ever seen. A hole, slightly larger than his fist, was punched clean through his stomach, the glinting tissue and viscera all protruding in one direction toward his back. His spine, intestines, and other organs had been completely destroyed. The wound no longer bled, because there wasn't any blood left to bleed. The void in his own heart grew larger, which slowly began to fill with seething anger. Dio had done this. He had killed Kakyoin in an instant. He had snuffed out the life of a young man with so much ahead of him without a second thought, like he was nothing. He clenched his fist. It wasn't fair. After staring at the mutilated corpse for a few more moments, he looked away, trying to swallow his disgust. Through his haze of emotions, he managed to notice something sloshing in the corner of his vision as the helicopter hit another bump. He looked over to the corner of the cabin. Inside a black kit whose lid was slightly open, Jotaro could see shiny plastic with some kind of liquid jostling in it. He hadn't been able to see it from where he'd been sitting before. Curious, he slowly made his way over to it. He was careful to crouch slowly to look at it so his injuries wouldn't start acting up. He pushed the lid back. It was a medical kit, similar to the ones the medics in the first ambulance had used on him. There were bandages, splints, stitches, and other medical equipment meant for treating serious injuries. The liquid he had seen was in a plastic bag, dark red and sloshing with every bump in the air. It was blood. It had a label written on it that said one thing: Dio. Chills began to creep up Jotaro's spine at the name. Was this a bag of Dio's blood?
Why is this here?
As far as he knew, Dio's remains were still in the ambulance with Joseph. Perhaps the Speedwagon Foundation had collected it and saved it in this bag for research.
Dio's blood. Vampire blood.
An idea occurred to him. In that moment, Jotaro Kujo's heart experienced a brief moment of weakness. Before he could even think it through, He grabbed the bag and stood up as fast as he could, ignoring the searing pain in his broken bones as he did. Star Platinum flickered to life beside him to rip the top of the bag off, his fist moving faster than Jotaro could even see, being so focused on this new idea. The blood inside sloshed dangerously, the drops threatening to spill over the plastic edge. Dio had been a vampire. During their fight, he had regenerated whenever Jotaro thought he had fatally wounded him. Only a crushing blow to the head had been able to stop him. If Dio's blood had regenerative powers, then maybe, just maybe. He held the bag over Kakyoin's wound. The blood inside was a centimeter away from the edge. All he had to do was slightly tilt his hand, and then Kakyoin's blank eyes stared at him, almost as if he had turned to look at him intentionally. Jotaro stared back, his hand with the blood bag starting to quiver.
No. What was I thinking?
The helicopter hit more turbulence as Jotaro yanked the bag away from Kakyoin. He pulled the cloth back over his body. He sealed the bag up and threw it back into the kit. He slammed the lid shut, staring at the box for just a moment, contemplating the potential it held. Then he turned away and sat back down on his seat. He put his head on his good hand.
I'm such an idiot. Kakyoin, I'm so sorry.
He couldn't believe he'd been so rash. He was never one to do anything reckless, so why had he only barely stopped himself from doing something so stupid? As the last vampire on Earth, the properties of Dio's vampiric abilities and blood were a complete unknown, and they had no idea what would happen if it was transfused into a living person, let alone a corpse. Dio's blood could have revived Kakyoin, but who knows if he would revive as his normal self. He could come back as some kind of monster or mindless follower of Dio, or something even worse. But just for an instant, he had been so pulled in by the prospect of having his best friend back that he didn't even stop to consider the consequences. He pinched the bridge of his nose again. He had been stupid. Kakyoin was dead, and messing with Dio's blood to try and bring him back would probably only make things worse in the end. He didn't even know if Dio's blood did have the power to revive people at all.
It's better to just leave it alone.
To say those words, even in his own head, felt like a crushing defeat. It meant accepting that Kakyoin was really gone, and he was never coming back. He wished he had never noticed the bag at all, because to think he could have him back and then have that taken away was like losing Kakyoin all over again. The hole in his chest had shrunk, and had expanded larger than it ever had before. The helicopter steadied and landed. Jotaro looked out and saw that they were on the ground in the desert, the ambulances with Polnareff and the old man approaching. He had been so caught up in his thoughts that he hadn't even noticed the landing.
We're here, Mr. Kujo.
One of the pilots stood up to look out the window with him.
Oh, right.
We're meeting up with another ambulance that has more advanced equipment to keep you and Polnareff stable until Dio is destroyed. After that, we'll take you to the hospital.
Thanks.
Jotaro saw the other ambulances approaching from the horizon. Once they got closer, the pilot opened the door and helped Jotaro climb out onto the sand. Jotaro looked back at Kakyoin's body one last time. It lay there, forever still, eerily peaceful.
Goodbye, Kakyoin.
Jotaro stepped out onto the sand. He had turned his head too quickly. If he'd let his eyes linger a moment longer, he might have noticed a tiny, almost imperceptible twitch of a pale hand from under the cloth. He might also have noticed the turbulence from the helicopter and the combined motion of pulling the bag back had caused a small, almost microscopic drop of Dio's blood to fall and land on a busted blood vessel. Despite his resolve, Jotaro Kujo had just made one of the biggest mistakes of his life. The moment of weakness his heart had endured would soon cause years of suffering. 2 weeks later, Jotaro and Joseph were standing in the blazing sunlight at Kakyoin's funeral. The air was cold, but the sun was warm on their backs. Joseph was still heavily bandaged, and Jotaro's chest was locked in a full splint. His arm was still trapped in a sling, which made putting his suit on for the occasion a complete pain. He stood stiff and silent as he watched the casket being lowered into the ground. He and the old man kept their distance, allowing space for Kakyoin's family. His parents, a few cousins, and neighbors were gathered around. His mother was sobbing into her husband's shoulder, wiping her eyes with a handkerchief as she watched. His father had tears in his eyes too, and put his hand on his wife's head to comfort her. A simple yet elegant gravestone had been erected to stand sentry. Kakyoin's name was inscribed, along with his short lifespan.
It's all my fault.
His mother's voice was raw, thick with grief. The same seething anger Jotaro had felt on the helicopter returned here. Anger towards himself, but most of all Dio. He had done this. Caused these innocent people who had never done him any wrong so much grief. The sun was too bright. The sky was too blue. It felt wrong that the world could look so peaceful when everything here was not.
I could have brought him back.
He stopped that thought. No. He had done the right thing. He had made the only choice he could. But he still wished he could do something to help Kakyoin's grieving mother. Once the casket was lowered, the mourners stayed for several minutes staring at the grave, as if they weren't ready to accept the reality of it. Eventually, one by one, they began to leave. His mother was the last to go.
Come on, Jotaro. Let's give them some space.
Right.
He followed Joseph to where their car was waiting. The last shovel of dirt landed. The world above carried on. Beneath the earth, Noriaki Kakyoin drew his first breath.
What do you mean?
Jotaro's words stirred something in him, something like the beginning of rage. He tried to push it down, but confusion only rose in its place. Jotaro locked eyes with him. He was surprised to see horror there, as well as fear. It made him want to back away, but he held his gaze.
When you were dead, I sat with your body on the helicopter. I noticed the medical kit on the floor. It had Dio's blood in it, so I...
Jotaro stopped, as if he was unable to continue. Mr. Joestar turned to look at him in horror.
Jotaro? No, please. Tell me you didn't.
Of course I didn't. I'm not stupid.
Then what happened?
I opened the bag, and I thought about using it. But I decided not to, so I put it away. But I remember, the helicopter hit some turbulence as I sealed it. Some of it must have spilled out.
He broke off again, the realization of what he'd done seeming to hit him like a truck. He looked up into Kakyoin's eyes again, desperation shining there. Kakyoin had never seen his cool demeanor break like this.
Kakyoin, it was an accident. I didn't mean to.
Kakyoin said nothing, only staring blankly. His vision started to swim from him not blinking. His mind zeroed in on the only information it was able to cling to. Jotaro had done this to him. The grave, his suffering, the people he'd killed. It had all been because of Jotaro. He started to breathe heavily. His mind began to be torn, so many thoughts racing through his head he could barely keep track of them all.
Jotaro did this to you. All this suffering. No, it was an accident. Mom and Dad, they'll never see you again. This is all his fault. He didn't mean to. It doesn't matter. It's still his fault. He's my friend. He betrayed you.
Kakyoin!
Mr. Joestar grabbed his arm, snapping him out of his spiral.
I'm sorry.
He didn't know what to say. The men only stood there in silence. Kakyoin noticed something in the corner of his vision. He turned his head to see a tiny beam of sunlight had made its way through the shutters on one warehouse window. It landed on the ground, only a meter away. Without thinking, he bolted towards the window.
Kakyoin! What are you doing?
He ignored him. He had reached the shutter.
Kakyoin, wait! Stop!
Jotaro called to him, seemingly realizing what he was doing. One pull. Just a flick of his arm, that was all it would take. Then it would be over. He began to pull his arm, and explosive force punched him in the ribs, sending him sprawling sideways. He crashed headfirst into a stack of crates. The crates spilled over and went everywhere. He laid on the ground amidst the fallen boxes, nursing his broken ribs and trying to get his breath back. Tears started to leak out of his eyes. Jotaro didn't give him time to recover, though. He stomped over and hoisted Kakyoin up by his collar until their noses were almost touching, sending waves of pain down his body. His blue eyes blazed with anger.
What is wrong with you? What the hell were you thinking?
Kakyoin struggled to speak, but then stopped. He only stared back at Jotaro in contempt. Then he looked down at the floor.
Do you have any idea?
His voice broke from anger.
We went through all this trouble to find each other. And now you're trying to kill yourself?
Jotaro! Stop it! Put him down!
Jotaro threw Kakyoin back to the floor, sighing in disgust. Kakyoin stayed down, letting his fist curl against the floor.
How could you do that to us? I already lost you once. You really think I want to go through that again?
The pain from his chest had subsided as his ribs knit themselves back together, but a pounding, red-hot feeling was surging in its place.
I don't want to live, Jotaro.
His voice dissolved into sobs. Jotaro and Mr. Joestar looked at him in surprise. Their gazes softened as he continued.
I don't want to live!
He cried again, covering his eyes with his hands to stop the tears from spilling over. He was ashamed to be bawling in front of his friends like this, adding to his frustration.
You don't know what it's like. Never being able to see the sun. Having to kill and drink blood just to survive. It's hell! My parents, they think I'm dead! I can never see them again, because I might hurt them.
He dried his tears and sat up. He looked up at them with as much strength as he could muster.
But I suffered through all of it, because I wanted to see you again and find out if Dio was dead. And then it turns out, my best friend is the one who made me like this in the first place.
Kakyoin, that's no reason to...
I'm immortal now, Jotaro.
The words had come out of his mouth before he even had the chance to think about it. Eternity was a subject so vast, so lonely, his brain had rejected nearly every thought of it whenever it came up. But now that he had started, he couldn't stop.
Do you know what that means? To be immortal? Everyone around me will die. But I'll stay the same. Forever. Remember what it was like to go to my funeral? That'll be my every day soon enough. You, Mr. Joestar, Polnareff, my parents.
His voice caught in his throat, another sob catching him off guard.
I don't want to spend eternity like this.
He looked down at the floor.
Running, hiding in the shadows, siphoning life away from others. It's hell. It's truly hell, so I'm sorry if trying to escape it is an inconvenience to you. But I can't live like this. So, will you please get out of my way so I can kill myself?
Jotaro and Mr. Joestar said nothing, only staring at him. Then they looked at each other. Kakyoin hugged his chest to his knees. His throat was starting to burn again, and he was doing his best to swallow it down. The scent of so much human blood around him was starting to make him dizzy, and his energy was running out from having to heal so much. Whatever they decided, they had to do it quickly. Jotaro would never admit it, but he had imagined what it would be like to meet Kakyoin again many times. But never in his wildest fantasies had he thought it would go anything like this. The old man didn't seem to have any answers either.
Stay put for a moment, Kakyoin. We need to talk.
He pulled the old man aside to the wall near the window, in case Kakyoin tried to go there again.
Jotaro, I don't even have the words to describe it.
I'm not going to let him kill himself.
I don't want him to either. But it's his choice.
So what? You're just going to let him throw his life away?
What other choice do we have? He's miserable. And if he doesn't, he'll stay miserable for eternity.
Isn't there another way?
What do you mean? You want to take him home and stuff him in your basement forever?
No, I mean, maybe there's a way to turn him back into a human.
Joseph paused, looking at the ground grimly.
You mean cure him?
He seemed intrigued, but then after a moment said,
No, it can't be done.
How do you know?
No one has ever done it before.
That we know of.
Jotaro, please, trust me. There's no way to cure vampirism. If there was, we would have used it in our fight against them when I was younger. It's completely impossible.
Impossible.
Jotaro seemed to be musing, but then locked eyes with the old man, his gaze arresting.
You know, I guess you were dead when I said this before, so I don't blame you for making me repeat myself.
What are you talking about, Jotaro?
When Dio drained the blood from your body, the Speedwagon Foundation doctors had completely given up on you. They said there was no way to save you. They also told me it was impossible. So you know what I said to them?
Jotaro.
Joseph could see where this was going.
And we did a lot of impossible things on our journey. I was tired of hearing the words impossible or useless. Those words mean nothing to us. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
I do, but I just don't see.
If I'd given up on you then, you'd still be dead. We've done the impossible, old man. We stopped Dio. We saved my mother. We just need to do it again. For him.
He glanced back at Kakyoin.
You have to help me try.
Joseph's gaze softened as he looked at Kakyoin's miserable form curled up in the fallen crate stack. He looked back to Jotaro.
You never know when to quit, do you?
If I did, neither of us would be here.
All right. Let's see what we can do. I think I have an idea.
They went back to where Kakyoin was waiting, his gaze bleak.
Kakyoin, what if there was a way to cure you?
Kakyoin didn't look at him, but his brow furrowed as he considered the prospect.
What do you mean, cure me?
He said after a pause.
Get rid of your vampirism. Turn you back into a human.
Kakyoin's eyes widened, and then he smiled to himself, but the smile disappeared as a skeptical look crossed his face.
That sounds wonderful, of course. But is it even possible?
Well, I won't lie. No one's ever done it.
That we know of.
Admittedly, we don't know if it's possible. But if you're willing to try, we'll do what we can for you.
Kakyoin put his forehead on his knees. His muffled voice carried over to them.
If no one has ever done it, what hope is there for me?
Jotaro suddenly stepped forward. He bent down and placed a hand on Kakyoin's shoulder. He locked eyes with his friend, trying to put as much intensity in his gaze as he could.
Kakyoin, if you really want to be cured, then you can't think like that. The road to a cure might be long and hard, but I swear we'll help you through it. Never forget, we did a lot of impossible things on our journey. We just need to do it again. But
He squeezed his shoulder.
you can't give up. You have to keep going, no matter what, if this is truly what you want.
Kakyoin gazed at the floor again, his look pensive. There was a very long pause. Jotaro never took his hand off his shoulder. Finally, he looked back up. This time, there was resolve in his eyes.
All right. I'll give it my all.
Jotaro gave him a small smile. He held his other hand out to Kakyoin. Kakyoin grabbed it, and he helped hoist him to his feet. Once he was back up, Kakyoin made a beeline for Joseph, but before he did, he took a moment to glance over his shoulder at Jotaro and whisper,
Thank you.
All right, Kakyoin. I have an idea we can try, if you're willing.
Kakyoin nodded. Mr. Joestar held his hand out in front of him. He took a deep breath and then exhaled slowly. His hand began to glow as energy rippled across his palm and fingers. The energy coalesced into crackling, sparkling zaps of light.
This is Hormone, an ancient technique passed down through the ages, designed specifically to manipulate life energy and kill vampires. It harnesses the energy of the sun through certain breathing techniques.
Kakyoin remembered this technique. Mr. Joestar had used it several times on their journey to Egypt. He didn't know much about it, though. If he believed it could work, Kakyoin was willing to give it a try. One thing that Mr. Joestar said didn't sit right with him, however.
Kill vampires? How is that supposed to help me?
Well, I was thinking if I channel hormone into your body at a very low frequency, using a positive and negative charge, that might destroy the vampire essence in you.
Kakyoin felt very nervous as he looked at Mr. Joestar's hormone-infused hand. Something about it terrified a primal part of his brain, like the feeling one would normally get from seeing a hot stove. His brain was telling him not to touch it, to run away, but he stayed where he was, his breathing becoming heavy. Mr. Joestar dismissed his hormone, the light fading quickly out of existence.
Are you ready? I'm warning you now. I don't know if this will work. This stuff is lethal to vampires, so it will probably be extremely painful.
Kakyoin swallowed nervously. He looked at Jotaro, who gave him a reassuring gaze.
Let's do it.
All right. I'll channel the lowest possible amount I can. That way your body isn't overwhelmed.
He held out both hands, motioning for Kakyoin to grab onto them. Unsure, he grasped both of them slowly. Mr. Joestar took another deep breath and exhaled. Hormone crackled lightly on his hands once again. The glow was covered by Kakyoin's. At first, the rippling energy was warm, yet lively. It felt like he was holding on to writhing, warm clothes from the dryer. The warmth spread up his arms and tingled. It felt surprisingly good. He hadn't noticed how cold his whole being had felt until now. It was as if light itself was being channeled into his body. But the sensation didn't last. The warmth soon turned hot, the warm clothes becoming a flickering flame, then a live coal. He started to breathe heavily, his nerves becoming agitated and screaming at him. He bit his tongue to keep himself from making any noise. The heat slowly grew until it felt like he was clinging to a hot curling iron. Sweat was now trickling down his face. He cried out, gasping from the pain.
Man, stop! You're hurting him!
It could still work!
The heat grew more intense. Glowing lines appeared on Kakyoin's hands like gold thread through his veins.
See?
Kakyoin gasped between grunts of pain.
There's...
No! Old man, stop it right now! Kakyoin, let's not!
The gold threads flashed brightly, and then Kakyoin's hands broke apart into dust. Joseph immediately dismissed his Hamon. The golden light from his hands disappeared, but Kakyoin hardly noticed that. He screamed and brought his searing wrists close to his body. They were only stumps now. His hands had been completely disintegrated, burning flesh glowing brightly. The glow was spreading slowly up his arms, pieces of it breaking off and falling to the ground. He began to panic as it spread to his elbows. Whatever energy Joseph had channeled into him, it was going to kill him from the inside out.
Kakyoin, stay calm!
Someone put a hand on his shoulder. He faintly heard Mr. Joestar through his haze of pain.
Let your body regenerate. You'll be okay.
It was no use, though. His body's energy was spent. He'd already had to heal from so many other wounds today. It would take too long for his hands to grow back on their own before the Hamon spread through his body and killed him. He needed energy from an outside source. His vision grew blurry. He felt his sense of control slipping away.
Mr. Joestar. Jotaro. You need to get away from me. Now.
Their eyes widened at his warning.
What do you mean?
Please. I won't be able to control...
Kakyoin spoke between heavy breaths and gasping.
We're not leaving you.
You can't...
Kakyoin growled like an animal. His mind slipped. It was like when he had attacked that old man when he'd emerged from his grave, all sense of morality and time destroyed. He needed blood, and his instincts were willing to kick in and get it, no matter what it took. He only managed to say one thing before he completely lost his mind.
Sorry.
Faster than he could comprehend, he lunged and bit Mr. Joestar's arm, his fangs sinking into flesh. Warm blood gushed over his tongue. Nothing had ever tasted so sweet.